But have we got a quorum?
I think Erin is via Zoom.
Is she on?
Chris has a language to move in exec session as soon as we recognize.
Erin?
Is she in? Are we good? Are we official?
Yeah, I'm here.
All
Hi,
right.
Erin.
We are official and Chris.
I don't even know if this batch.
I motion that we move into executive session for the purpose of discussion regarding proposed, pending, or current litigation and matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Thank you.
I'll second that. So I
Thanks,
never,
everybody. I suppose we have to do the, please call the roll call. Let's get the corporations. We should go after them.
no,
Rob Ainsley?
Yes.
Erin Croyle?
Yes.
Erin Croyle?
Yes.
You're muted, Erin.
I'm not.
She's not?
I said yes.
She's not muted.
She
She's
She said yes.
Eldred Harris?
Yes.
Moira Lang? Yes. Chris Malcolm?
Yes.
Very good. And hopefully Jack can join us for a return, hopefully approximately 7 o'clock. So we, Chris is coming. We actually, we have 5 board members in person. I am almost shocked, actually, but Erin is hybrid, remote. We are back from exec session, and great to see lots of folks from Northeast, and we look forward to hearing about Northeast in a few minutes. And we're just a few items to get through, and we're not going to modify the agenda, I don't believe, right? We'll go through it. And waiting for Chris Malcolm.
I apologize.
Bearing gifts, water.
Hydration is important.
So we are, as Chris rearranges furniture, but we are honored tonight to have Judy Maxwell in the house. Judy Maxwell.
Yay!
Judy Maxwell. Well, yes, Judy, it's great to see you. Longtime teacher in the district and a longtime school board member, and someone who made me, well, you made me become president of the board 14 years ago. So it's all your fault, Judy. So we're gonna just go ahead, and what we typically do at this point in the meeting, we receive public comment, and everybody that wishes to speak has signed up so far. We have a bunch, and everybody gets 3 minutes. We will ask those who speak come up and sit, because that way we can get the sound and get the video, and you're going to be enshrined for the archives and all time, and speaking to the board about what you'd like to talk about. There are some rules. Basically, glad to hear about Northeast, glad to hear about whatever you want to talk about. When we're in public, we cannot and do not talk about individual employees of the district. So just keep that in mind. Whether pro or whatever, a pro, con, or whatever, employees have the right not to be discussed in public. And so we do not do that, ever. And so, other than that, it's really whatever you'd like to talk about. 3 minutes is pretty much a target, and I think Trisha's our official timekeeper. Right, well, Wish you just pointed that way, but,
Second.
it's all right, so.
I am prepared, I am prepared.
So we're gonna do our 3 minutes. You don't have to speak for 3 minutes. It's, it's, if you said what you said and are good, that's fine. According to the policy people, which are beside me, we're gonna go for 30 minutes and then the board says, yes, we will go longer. I mean, we will just have to take a pause at that point and say, yes, let's continue because we haven't gotten through everyone. Everyone that has signed up will speak. And we'll ask at that point if anyone else wants to speak, because we love to hear from everybody. And I don't read the names because I don't have my glasses with me and I can never, yes, Judy, Max, I don't. But there are some folks that are signed up and I think there are some folks that are here want to talk about something besides Northeast. And so I think we're just get started. And we're starting a little late, but we're gonna go ahead and go. Right.
All right, always good for us to look up and see the faces of beautiful children. Thank you for bringing them. Let's hope we can get them out of here in time to get some rest and get ready for school tomorrow. There are 5 of us here. 6-member Aaron Curl is on virtual.
Right, I'll just pause. We let everyone speak. Board will do responses to whatever we may hear, but we will wait until everyone has spoken. So it is not a give and take. You have your opportunity to speak, and then we have an opportunity to speak later. This is not it will not be a Q&A. Put it that way. Go ahead.
It looks like there are more people than we have time, so when we get to that 30-minute mark, we will take that into consideration and make the appropriate adjustments. So, beginning with the first speaker, Joyce Putnam. And my document says that Joyce is going to join us electronically.
No, Joyce is right here.
Electronically, here I am. And my partner in crime, who's also over on the side, signed up. I'm not sure her voice is gonna hold up. If I go over the 3 minutes, Judy Maxwell may not be able to do the final reading, but we'll work on it, okay? Okay, I am Joyce Putnam. I taught middle school for 34 years, 22 of them at Boynton, so here we go. Couple reasons I'm here tonight, and the first is to thank Rob Ainsley. Rob Ainsley for his 14 years of outstanding service on the Ithaca Board of Education. I firmly believe it's very important to have diverse groups represented on this board, and Rob, raised on a dairy farm on the west side of the lake, attended Enfield School. He managed that dairy farm, and many years later, his son also went to Enfield Elementary School. Rob thoroughly understands our rural community and has always kept his focus on and unwavering support of those students and family in the rural community. When Rob started on the board, the Ithaca school system was comprised of very independently functioning schools. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember that. The education a child might receive in one elementary school would be very different than the education found in another. Each one did its own thing. How fortunate Ithaca was that a great group of individuals came together on the board at this time, and through a comprehensive plan and a process of small steps and hard work, Ithaca now can say that all our students receive a common, excellent curriculum experience and common opportunities to learn. When Rob started on the board, the school system was deemed a school in need of improvement. Graduation rate was 75%. It is now in the upper 90s. For the last 7 years, Ithaca High School has been recognized as one of the top high schools in the country. In 2020, IHS was considered a top STEM school in the country, second only to the Bronx School of Science. For the last 10 years, Ithaca schools have been ranked as being a school system providing top music education in this country. Rob, over the years, has been respected by a member of this board. He has been elected to the board 14 times as president. Because his steady hand, calm manner, and ability to manage meetings has allowed people to be heard and ideas to become realities. Now working as a Morgan Stanley office, Rob brings his knowledge and astute understanding of finance to the board. ICSD is a business, a $149 million business, over 1,200 employees. many and varied facilities to manage, investments to be made and watch, state laws and guidelines to understand and manage. We have been very fortunate to have had Rob as a member on the board and Brad Granger before him to help guide the finances of this district. Their ability to manage monies by taking advantage of various financial planning opportunities have saved the district taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. My question, who's going to take Rob's place? When Brad Granger was voted off the board, no member would chair the facilities or audit committees. Board presidents don't normally chair committees, but Rob took it upon himself to add it. My other reason to speak tonight is to enlighten the public here and hopefully anybody listening as to the reason Rob and Eldred were targeted by a very well-organized and active group of individuals that opposed Dr. Brown and targeted by the Ithaca Teachers Association campaign, extremely well-financed by the regional and New York State Teachers Union. Just as the ITA was able to do, should I have Judy speaking?
At time, yeah.
Okay, well, Judy may not be able to speak. She signed up. Can you speak? Can I do her part?
Absolutely, but I'm gonna start again.
Okay. Just as the ITA was able to do with union monies to remove Brad Granger from the board, I and many other voting Ithacans received in the mail a colorful, glossy flyer encouraging people to only vote for those not currently on the board. Don't let them divide us, it says. Instead, vote for the candidates who want to unite us. And Rob and Eldred's names were obviously not on here. There was a social media barrage of disinformation, rumors, accusation, lies, and defamation of character. Letters were written, unacceptable comments were made. As taxpayers, you need to be aware of what is happening. The well-organized plan, now in its third round of success, is to systematically remove all board members that served when Dr. Brown was hired. The ITA will work tirelessly to remove individuals from our board that they did not sponsor. The board has power, and they plan to put all their effort into gaining that power. Gone will be the citizens elected to represent any other Ithaca constituents. Independent thinkers will not be tolerated. Shame on those who are now showing remorse and not voting. They are shocked at the results, largely because they were not aware of what has been happening, and it will continue to happen unless there are no longer complacent people. Let's hope it's not too late to once again have a diverse group on the Board of Education that represents the many and varied beliefs and groups that make up Ithaca, New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm assuming Judy is.
Judy, this Judy.
Oh,
no, it's Judy.
Yeah.
This Judy?
Yes, Judy Singer, welcome.
That would be me.
And we will start when you are ready.
Thanks, Eldred.
You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Judy Singer, and I will be making comments on last week's ICSD BOE elections and some other stuff. To the Ithaca College professor who, in this forum a week ago, called Rob a liar, perhaps that false accusation was made to detract attention from your egregious behavior that morning. I witnessed the incident. I have a different take on who behaved poorly. To the board member who accepted financial support from New York State United Teachers and the endorsement of the ITA and its president, you are complicit in a campaign of lies and in character assassination of other board candidates. To the president of the Ithaca Teachers Association who defamed Rob, and to teachers and employees of the district. Over the past 15 years, if you have been hired, Rob has approved and voted for it. If you are a teacher and you have gained tenure, he has approved and voted for it. If you have received a promotion in the district, he has approved and voted for it. Every raise you have received, he has approved and voted for it. And over the past 15 years, he has done one more thing. He has figured out how to pay for it. For all of your taxpayer paid wages, salaries, and benefits. In this year's budget, that amount is $105 million in district employee wages, salaries, and benefits. To one member of the Ithaca Teachers Association who did speak out against disinformation and untruths, thank you. To the community members that expressed sadness and shock, thank you for your kind words. To the district executive team, administrators, and building principals who have worked with Rob, thank you for being consummate professionals. To current and past ICSD BOE members who have worked with Rob, Sean, Eldred, Chris, Moira, Pat, Brad, Ann, Judy, and Seth, thank you for your dedication and service to the Ithaca community. It has been a pleasure getting to know you through Rob's association with the board. And to Rob, you have served this board and the Ithaca community for 15 years. You have logged thousands of untold hours. Rob, you are a man of integrity. You are not a liar. You do not hate. 37 years ago, I chose wisely. You are a good man, Rob. Welcome home on Tuesday nights. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board and the community tonight.
Well, we'll just pause. Obviously, yes, Judy and I have been married for 37 years, has it been 37?
Something like that.
That's right, and Judy speaks her mind, and yeah, I try to do whatever Judy tells me. So, but appreciate it, dear, and it's and thank you. Thank you for those words.
And you're good with time. 3 seconds over.
Judy is prepared and practiced, but now we'll, I think, Albert, go ahead.
Next on our list is Melissa Crawford, and the note I have here is virtual.
I am virtual. Can you hear me?
Oh, well.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. I am Melissa Crawford, the virtual 2nd and 3rd grade teacher. Tonight, I want to celebrate our virtual learners. Virtual learning provides a successful means of delivering a model of excellence for those families and their students who need academic goals to be realized outside the traditional physical school building. As educators in our profession, we already know a one-size-fits-all model does not work. Our students are not stunted by virtual learning. Instead, our virtual elementary program has provided the platform where our students are able to learn and we can honor their family's choice. People at Northeast have worked very hard with the virtual team to make this a successful experience for our children. Our virtual students are thriving. We celebrate birthdays, showcase their projects, and reach out to encourage them in their work. Reverse field trips to Northeast were set up so the kids were able to play and see each other in a safe way. We value the importance of all our virtual students and their social emotional well-being. Virtual families are amazed and appreciative for all that has been done to make this a wonderful experience. One of the many letters I've received from families said, "We are so grateful that our daughter had an exceptional virtual team who helped her progress and thrive in a virtual environment and who managed to create a warm, welcoming, tight-knit community for the students." Our daughter had mixed feelings going back in person, simply because she loved being in this virtual class. We want to give our heartfelt thanks to the team. You made our daughter feel seen as a virtual student by keeping all of the kids in mind and mentioning them throughout the week. We appreciate the thoughtfulness, humor, and efforts to create an inclusive sense of belonging. A well-developed virtual program allows educators to diversify academically, socially, and behaviorally in ways that traditional settings do not allow. While some may argue that 100% of the student population should be attending instruction in person, a virtual platform has allowed many students to achieve educational gains that were not feasible in other settings. Virtual learning provides an alternative option that does not replace the traditional brick and mortar building, but rather enhances the choices offered to our diverse community. Equity is the cornerstone for public education. Providing students with alternative modes of learning is paramount in meeting that mark. Remote learning provides critical learning opportunities for those students requiring alternative instruction, as well as families who need the accommodation. In a district that prides itself on love for children, the virtual platform offers all students the chance to thrive. Virtual learning may have emerged as a temporary solution during a pandemic. However, over the past 2 years, it has metamorphosed into a tool that our virtual educators and engaged families believe should be a permanent option. It will not only enhance our academic community and learners, but could provide creative means of teaching and learning that bridge the gaps for students for whom the traditional school may not as effectively serve. We've created a team that makes our virtual students feel valued and appreciated. We show them every day they are an important part of the student body in Ithaca City Schools. And remember, please be kind to everyone you see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Julie Greco, also virtual. Let me just be clear, I don't know if my voice carries that well for virtual participants, but I will be raising it when they have exceeded the 3 minutes. Do not think I'm yelling at it. Julie, we're ready when you are.
Okay, sorry about that. I got like kicked out for a second, I thought. So my name is Julie Greco, and I'm a parent of fourth grade twins at Northeast Elementary. I want to take a moment to speak about the amazing job the staff has done during this unprecedented time. In March 2020, as the world was shutting down, I panicked and pulled my kids out of school one day. My son has a medical condition, and I was really worried about COVID. I emailed the teachers to tell them that I'd be keeping my kids home. And as I've joked many times since that day, I was immediately called into the principal's office. Principal was so wonderful in that meeting. I went in very worried that I was going to get yelled at, but she empathized with me. She heard my concerns. She listened to some of the suggestions I made that would help me as a parent feel safer returning my children. And she implemented some of the things that I mentioned. In the end, she gave me the confidence to send my kids back to school for what would amount to be about another week. The next year, my kids learned remotely, and their teacher did an amazing job. She made the best out of a bad situation. I was working from home, so I often was listening in on their classroom and marveled at the patience she showed while managing nearly 30 kids, all of which have the combined attention span of a goldfish. She went above and beyond in terms of trying to give the kids all the emotional and educational support they could possibly need. I also appreciated the efforts of the principal to keep the remote learners engaged. Her morning announcements were always the highlight of my kids' day. And I was so thankful that she implemented reverse field trips to get the online kids back to the playground for some social time. This past fall, when we were debating whether or not to return the kids in person, I had great conversations with a host of teachers and staff members, including the nurse, who probably deserves combat pay for having to see me in her office once a month. Those conversations helped put my mind at ease. My son, however, was still reluctant to return. That is until the principal gave him a private tour to show him all the precautions that were put in place to keep him safe. This year, they're back in person, and both their teachers have been absolutely amazing. My kids are incredible. You said 1 minute? Incredibly happy. They're back on track academically, and I know that because I can't follow their math. They're getting the emotional support they need, and they've returned to school and their social interactions. I truly appreciate the inclusive community that's been fostered at Northeast. The way that current events are discussed with thoughtfulness and caring and an eye towards social justice is so important as we raise good citizens that care for others in their community. I honestly believe the entire Northeast staff from top to bottom deserves heartfelt thanks for all their hard work and everything they've done the past few years. So that's all. Thank you.
Next on our list is Gabriella Smith, also virtual from Northeast.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. My name is Gabrielle Smith, and my children are Nathan and Owen Ruiz. They're in the 5th and 2nd grades at Northeast and have attended there since kindergarten. I myself attended Northeast as a child, and I regret that I cannot tell you who my principal was at the time. But I know that Nathan and Owen, when they're my age, they will remember their elementary school principal, Liddy. They will remember her initiative and commitment to creating a school community that is an inclusive, welcoming, affirming, and a thriving place to be. They will remember how even in the midst of a devastating pandemic, Liddy and her team of amazing teachers worked to provide children with a sense of comfort, consistency, joy, and uplift. And of course, they will remember her morning announcements and engaging read-alouds. Formerly,
Gabrielle,
yes?
I need to remind you that we had said initially, you might not have heard it because you're virtual, that state law prohibits us from mentioning specific employees' names, even to the compliment.
Okay, my apologies, I did miss that.
All right, you're talking about what somebody did during the pandemic, we get it. So I stopped your time, and when you start again, I will start again.
Okay. Well, formerly I taught for over a decade in the New York City Department of Education and have worked under a number of different administrators. I had an administrator or mentor like the leadership that's present at Northeast, whose leadership is driven by children's needs and learning, their physical and psychological safety, and their positive self-concept, my experience would have been drastically different in wonderful ways. I have no idea what is happening right now, why our administrator is on a sudden leave. I know that every day we wake up and we're confronted with hardship and the weight of all of the tragedy permeating our world. It gives me so much comfort that I can send my kids to a place where I trust that they'll be safe, heard, and seen under the leadership there. And our children have suffered so much loss, and I really hope that they don't have to endure another one. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up on our list is our good friend, Rita Rockenhoff. Spoken with us frequently, and I think you are virtual as well. Hello? And
yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm a parent and I'm here to celebrate the amazing educational experience at Northeast Elementary. For 8 years, our family had children at the school, and the last few of those years greatly benefited from the outstanding leadership of the current principal. She has been a steadfast supporter of her learning community of students, parents, teachers, and staff. She has been raising her voice loud and clear to advocate on their behalf. Before the pandemic, our family appreciated the principal's numerous community building efforts, her commitment to equity, and her implementation of an anti-racist and anti-marginalization curriculum. She also made a strong push towards improving the literacy experience. During the pandemic, she went above and beyond the call of duty. Even in the darkest days of school closings, the principal found ways to connect with students. First, there were video dance parties, weekly video story times, and game nights. Later, she took the lead in identifying outdoor learning spaces, and she not only planned these spaces, but she was out there on weekends, dragging logs and wading through poison ivy to make them happen. Importantly, she also found time to optimize the pandemic learning of individual students. In fall 2020, when all the reading teachers had been turned into classroom teachers, the principal did everything she could to ensure that our daughter, who struggled with spelling, got the support she needed. Even after our daughter's graduation last summer, the Northeast leadership stayed in touch and worked with the staff at the middle school to ensure that our daughter continued to get the spelling support she needed. In summary, Northeast Elementary is an amazing learning community thanks to the outstanding leadership efforts of its principal, and that is something to celebrate. Go Northeast, stay Wolfpack strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Next up, we have Beth Meyers, who is
Here.
right there.
All right. Oops, sorry. Hi there. I'm Beth Meyers. I'm a first grade teacher at Northeast. And I am a mom. I'm white. I'm gay. I'm pretty funny usually, but I'm not going to be funny tonight. And I'm not really trying to win a speech for the best board speech here tonight, win an award for the best speech. I just really want to tell you what's been true for me these past couple of years working at Northeast. And I've been thinking a lot about human resources and a lot about leadership. And with all due respect, I'm actually going to turn my back to you all and talk to the people that have supported me the most in this last 2 years. I'm just thinking about when I had to call out because day of, because my kid's school was closed or my little kid's school was canceled because of COVID, right? And immediately I would call the front staff and I would call the principal and I would say, listen, I'm sorry, I gotta be out again, right? And they just did it, they just handled it right away. And the actual human resources, right? The people that are inside our cinder block walls has made this work bearable for me in the past few years. And I'm honestly still waiting for the human resources department to correctly code my COVID days. And I'm not getting support from them. And another thing too, I'm just looking around to some of the ESPs that are here, some of the reading teachers, the ENL teachers that showed up every single day and didn't know what their job was gonna be because we didn't have subs. The human resources department wasn't giving us subs. And so the human resources in our actual building took care of it. We just did it. We had our principal outside there every single day for lunches and recesses covering, not just on a Friday afternoon. We did it every single day and she was there. And everybody stepped up in every single way. And truly, I just got a letter from the Human Resources Department yesterday and they said, they thanked us for centering the needs of kids. And I started thinking what actually is required to center kids' needs in schools? And honestly, teachers, it came to me real fast, right? Teachers make it possible to center kids' needs in schools, but it's not just teachers though, it's teachers that are supported so that they can take care of kids. And I have felt supported, not from the human resources department, but from the human resources, the people that are actually in my school building have been supporting me every single day. And that's what's made this work bearable. And the Human Resources Department is telling us, just trust us, we got your back. Has not been my experience.
30 seconds.
And I'm just very thankful for the human resources that are actually in my building every day. So thanks.
Next up is Quinn Constantine. Is that person with us or virtual?
Hello.
Virtual. All right. Ready when you are, Ms. Constantine.
Thank you. Hello, my name's Quinn Constantine. I'm a teaching assistant at Northeast. And I'm here today to speak about our wonderful leadership at Northeast Elementary. As a transgender woman, I have never felt safe or welcome in any workplace, even without explicit transphobia. I have never felt true respect in my professional life. For the first time and only time in my life, I don't only feel safe in my workplace, I feel celebrated and truly seen for my skills and talents. There is no doubt in my mind that our leadership has actively created and maintained this wonderful workspace, and I would feel much less secure, especially as a trans person, without that leadership and advocacy. Our leader at Northeast played an especially meaningful role for me as I was starting off in my role as a teaching assistant. I was so overwhelmed my first day that I just needed a place to cry, and our leader offered her space and affirmed me in my ability to do my work. A few months later, after I just got my footing with my first student, I was told they were moving away. And again, I was offered a space and emotional support. I've never felt so supported in such a genuine way in any workplace. Additionally, our leadership treats education support professionals as the professionals we are. In my experience with our leadership on the equity team, I have seen firsthand that there is more space for ESP voices at Northeast than anywhere else. I know for a fact that our leadership has provided that same level of compassion and respect to the entire staff and to the entire student body. On countless occasions, I have seen our leader address situations of unfairness and unkindness between students. She is a constant advocate for student identities in her day-to-day interactions. And I am truly inspired by her as an aspiring anti-racist and inclusive educator myself. A culture of love is not intrinsic to the Ithaca City School District. It takes incredible people who live it on the ground level every day. And our leadership at Northeast lives a culture of love every day. And she is the reason a culture of love exists at Northeast Elementary. Thank you.
We have been hearing comments for 1/2 hour now. So under our policy, we need to have a vote to extend the time. So I will make a motion to extend the time.
Second, we have 7
Yeah.
folks left signed up.
So that would be roughly 20 to 25 minutes.
So moved, seconded, there's, there's 5 of us here, Aaron's there, can we just say all in favor? Is that good?
You good with that, Aaron?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All in favor, we'll just keep rolling.
Okay.
Great to hear from everyone.
All right, thank you, folks. Next is Fernanda Medina? No.
Way to stick with a policy, Moira. That's very impressive, very impressive.
Procedurally.
Great to see.
Good evening, board members. I come to you this evening as parent of a first grade student and as a substitute teacher who has worn many hats this year at Northeast Elementary, supporting both individual students one-on-one and entire classrooms at every grade level. It's been amazing to feel the support of everyone at school during uncertain times like the pandemic. Virtual students being cared for, making sure they felt part of the community in many ways, that they had joy. Giving them opportunities to meet teachers and friends outdoors and making sure they had materials needed to learn. We even had a mobile library that would go to the children's home. And for the students that could be at school, being greeted at the door every day by our principal, seeing walls filled with their work, with things that are important to them, like Black Lives Matter, Justice for All, the Green Team, showing how to wear your mask the right way, or saying people can choose to wear a mask when this was possible. You can clearly see they are empowered and encouraged to have a voice about their school field and about what they would like to see. Our school motto, repeated every day on the morning announcements, is be kind to everyone you see. It is the heartbeat of how we relate to one another as staff, as students, as teachers, as learners. It is reflected in the interactions at every level of the building, in the question suggestion box that serves as one of the many forms of communication between students and the principal, in the way staff and building leadership address student behavioral concerns, in the way staff meetings are conducted. So in that way, all of students and staff voices and concerns can be surfaced and addressed with action.
1 more minute for them.
You can see this motto embodied and embedded in classroom practices, on the walls inside student artwork, and in the conversations started around everything from what can we do to protect the earth to how do we want to feel when we are at lunch and recess. As someone who travels from classroom to classroom, learning space to learning space every day, I want to let you know this kind of work happens because of our amazing leadership. The work of our teachers, ESPs, secretaries, nurse, librarians, custodians, food service assistants, and so many more people. This is who we are as a learning community, and we are proud of Northeast Elementary School. Thank you.
Next up, Kim Ruffman. Good evening, Kim.
Good evening, thank you. I'm gonna take this mask off. Never know if I'm screaming or not talking loud enough. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'd like to voice my support for Northeast Elementary School and the leadership of the school. My kids are age 6 in the first grade, meaning they started school under the toughest of circumstances. Their first days of kindergarten were on Zoom. We quickly got into the classroom, but we really were scared. We didn't know what to expect. And the principal and the leadership of the school during this time, the communications were clear, hopeful, and funny, and they really made an abnormal world feel more normal to us. We felt welcomed and safe at school during that first year, which was no easy accomplishment. Unfortunately, my son had more than a few chances to meet firsthand with the leadership team during the first year. He was taking out some of his COVID world frustrations with his friends on the playground. And I have to say that our interactions with the principal, probably suboptimal to be meeting under those circumstances, were wonderful. The leadership was fair, supportive, and kind while maintaining the rules and safety of all kids. We felt that our kid was cared for, and that is a delicate balance and one that was performed masterfully, in my opinion. The leadership supported my son Merritt and helped him to figure out how to avoid interactions that were not that were causing problems, and it worked. You know, in first grade, I'm happy to say that our experience and interaction with the leadership team is a welcome at the front door instead of a report from a playground incident. So really happy that that has been able to turn a corner. And I want to say that when we live right near the school, so we have a chance to go by it at all hours of day and night, and I see the leadership team, I see cars in the parking lot. I know holidays, weekends, early mornings, late nights, they are there working hard. And I think there's a kind of inclination when an organization is running well and the people inside and outside are happy and the organization is accomplishing its mission, to think that's the natural order of things. But my limited experience leading people has told me that is the opposite. Chaos is the natural order of things, and when there is order, someone is working hard to make that reality real. And I think that's true at Northeast. I think the leadership team is skilled and dedicated. I think that the principal brings her heart to the role, and she's the glue, and I want to support that. We have felt in our family and that we are welcome at Northeast. As a 2-mom household, we've always felt included, welcomed, celebrated, and I don't take that for granted either. So, you know, some people are, they care because it's part of their job and they want to do a good job. And some people care because it's part of who they are and their DNA. And we've always felt the principle is that in both groups, but primarily in that second group, she cares because it's part of her core. And we're glad to be part of Northeast. Thank you.
Next up, Megan Holbert.
Kind of a weird one to say.
Colbert, all right.
Okay, so okay, so I'll get started. I'm sorry, I'm wicked nervous. I'm not a public speaker at all.
I will start until you do. Don't worry about it.
Okay, fantastic. Okay,
That's free.
I'll just continue to shake and talk. All right. Okay, so my name is Meg Holbert. I've been a librarian at Northeast over the last 7 years. I would like to speak to the phenomenal leadership we have had over the last 4 years. Our leadership has been a relentless advocate for readership and literacy. Our leadership created a book room and a community invested mural in order to make it an inviting space to access reading. Our leadership sponsored and promoted a bookmobile to deliver books to students during COVID and made sure every child had numerous free books to enjoy over the summer so that kids would keep reading. They created weekly, humorous, and entertaining read-alouds for families. They could be counted on for promoting and collaborating on the whole school reading challenge every year, even if that meant dressing as a dinosaur or doing wacky competitions, or or generally any ridiculousness that was needed to reward kids for reading. Our leadership has created and collaborated on endless opportunities for STEM for all of our students, a passion of mine as well. They collaborated on a makerspace for all of our students to access at recess. They created a community garden grant for our kids to build a garden for our community, student-led garden. They promoted coding projects, coding club, makerspace, STEM challenges, 3D printing, robotics, and any technological resources that we might need in order for our students to know that they are engineers, innovators, and scientists. They promoted and collaborated a student news team to ensure that there was transparency and voice in our school, as well as students learning how to edit and produce news. Our leadership led by example by embracing technology and using it to recognize students and their moments of joy or triumph daily. Our leadership connected our community selflessly and immediately by getting resources to families, even if that meant food, diapers, or necessities. They were there immediately and at the drop of a hat. They created events to connect our community, creating collaborative events to truly get to know them. Movie nights, meet and greet, celebrations, and so much more. They created a dialogue so that our students' voices could be acknowledged and truly heard and responded to. They supported us to make sure that we as a staff were okay. Whether we just needed a few minutes to get a break, a resource, or a support, or needed help with a tough teaching challenge, we could count on our leadership to be there. Our leadership has been a vital piece of our community.
30 seconds.
If I could describe our leadership for the past 4 years, I would describe it as unfailingly present, invested, and with the utmost diligence, experience, and humility. If I ever needed an advocate for resources, reading, student needs, or anything, without question, my leadership would deliver. It was an open door, a text, or an email away at any time. Our leadership could be counted on to be there with students or teachers at their worst moments, pick them up, and celebrate them for their best. Our leadership could always be counted on for a funny story, a kind word, and some honest and incredibly valuable advice. Our leadership that we have valued so much is missing, and our school has an unfathomable and inexplicable hole in its wake. Still shaking.
What's that saying? Speak up, even if your voice shakes. Next up is Brian Goodman. Hey, Brian.
Hey, good evening. Hey, thank you so much, Board of Education folks. Thanks, Aaron, for being here and for volunteering your time. I'm going to read off my phone just a number of comments made by our families and students who weren't able to make it here tonight. One student said that he doesn't like it when our principal is gone and others try to step in for her. It's felt all over the school that our principal is not there. It's not the same for him and his friends. This student also said he's really happy with the question suggestion box that our principal started at Northeast, that thanks to the box, students are able to start conversations with our principal about things that bother them around the school and to bring change. Another one.
Technology.
These are from a couple parents. Last school year, we had ongoing uncomfortable interactions with a parent of another student. The events occurred both on and off school grounds. The principal was always willing to listen, talk through what had been happening, took our concerns seriously, and took action when necessary. This could have been handled in many ways, but with our principal, we felt heard and supported. It's from another pair of parents. We are ready to support our principal. She's such a dedicated principal and has worked so hard to keep the Northeast community together during the challenging times of the pandemic. I appreciate her spending time making these amusing morning announcements to cheer the kids up in the morning and her warm emails on Sundays to keep us updated with what's going on in the Northeast community. She always wears a smile and is so approachable that our daughter, a very shy second grader in Northeast, dragged her friend to talk to our principal on the playground over stuff that troubled her friend at home. We can't imagine Northeast without our principal's leadership. From another set of parents. Okay. Our principal and the Northeast staff and teachers have been amazing during the pandemic. Both my 6-year-old and 8-year-old missed our principal's morning announcement yesterday and asked what happened. I feel ICSD commitment letter sent last night is causing a lot of confusion and owes the community clear explanation of what's going on. One final parent. I want to share how our principal has connected with my son in his first year attending school in person. After completing kindergarten online, my son was excited to go to real life school, as he called it, but very nervous about the teachers, principal, and staff. His only perceptions coming from TV and books where principals are often portrayed as villain-like. But after his first day, he was excited to tell me about our principal and how nice she is. Since that first day, our principal has greeted him every morning as he walks into the building. They have fallen into a little routine where he likes to comment on her glasses and shoes, and they have a little exchange before she wishes him a good day. She's made herself approachable and easily accessible to the students at school. If you ask my son if he had a good day at school, he'll tell you, of course. He's always excited to go to school. Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, Jennifer Fee. Hello.
Thanks for extending the comment period so we can share. I'm also reading from my phone, hopefully it'll go well. All right, good evening, I'm Jennifer Fee. I'm a parent of a 5th grader at Northeast School, and I'm speaking for myself, but also reading a statement on behalf of my child's other mother, Terry Fee. We want to express our concern and support after the sudden departure of the principal at Northeast, who's been instrumental in establishing a culture of love at the school. I'm learning way too much about girl drama as a 5th grade parent. Our daughter luckily has always felt safe in going to Northeast leadership to ask for help with the scary and overwhelming concerns she and her friends share. She could rely on the principal taking the time to listen to what is going on and provide the very best support. And as others have shared, our kids feel safe and respected at that school. Terry asked that I share this statement about her reflection on a recent experience that she had, since she couldn't be here tonight because she's coaching basketball. So these are Terry's words. A prime example of this supportive environment occurred last Thursday, May 19th. As a police officer, I was able to witness firsthand the Northeast school principal communicating the urgency of last week's matter to the police and leading a coordinated search that included school staff, administration, transportation staff, kids count staff, and parents in looking for Northeast students after she left the school at the end of the school day. This cohesive effort led to the successful recovery of the child surrounded by her concerned and friends. As I searched as an officer and then later as a concerned parent after my shift, I ran into many community members also looking for her. The culture of love nurtured in the Northeast school community was evident, and the sentiment of this child being so loved by the Northeast community was what her family and friends repeated during the search. Speaking again from my perspective, our principal has openly embraced students across all aspects of diversity, making Northeast a safe and welcoming place for kids of all colors, of all cultures, of all gender identities, and of all abilities. It has been remarkable to see our daughter develop into an empathetic and open-minded person who embodies the culture of love for which ICSD stands. I give immense credit to the school culture led by the principal and supported by the amazing Northeast teachers. I love the school. We are still in a pandemic, and these are the final weeks of school. This situation, communicated last night via a short email that a new principal has suddenly been assigned, it feels destabilizing for our family, for teachers, I'm sure, and for our community, and most importantly for our students, for our kids. We need open and transparent communication. We don't need another loss this year. The presumed removal of someone who has been a stabilizing force for students during the pandemic, who has emanated kindness and asked students to do the same, negatively impacts our kids.
So thank you to the teachers and the amazing staff and the board for continuing to lead with love.
Two more people signed up, actually,
No.
one.
One.
Emily.
Upford.
Hello. I'm sorry. I've known you for how long?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, so my name is Emily Alford, and I've been teaching the Ithaca City School District for 25 years. And today I'm going to talk to you about shared leadership at Northeast Elementary School. I'm going to share just two examples tonight for the sake of time. The first is our equity team. The Northeast Equity Team is made up of a diverse group of staff who meet bi-weekly with our principal to plan staff meetings so that equity work is a part of everything we do, from identity work in small groups, anti-racist readings and curriculum writing, to supporting colleagues with inclusive classroom conversations about race, gender, diversity, and social justice, as well as planning school-wide activities. One such activity this year was a celebration of Black Lives Matter at school, showcasing the work each class is doing throughout the year. Student work was displayed in the hallways to create a museum walk, and everyone, including families in the evening, was invited during the month of March to look at and reflect on students' learning through Dr. Goldie Muhammad's framework. Students created pieces showcasing their identity work, criticality, skills, and knowledge about Black history and current events, as well as contributions and accomplishments of Black, Brown, and Indigenous people in this country. The other example of shared leadership that I want to share tonight with you is our Northeast Green Team. The Green Team is a large group of 4th and 5th graders who volunteered to meet every Monday during their lunch or recess to work together to make our school a better place. The students created 3 working groups. They have a plant and animal heroes who have created a pollinator garden and planted a tree with input and help from the rest of the school. The Guardians of Nature group, aka Reduce, Reuse, Recycle group, are currently working on a project to reuse old crayons. And the third group is a compost group, which started when a student asked, why is there no composting at Northeast? So the group wrote to the principal, who wrote back right away and said, that is a great question. We should have composting. How can I help? And here are some names of people in district who can also help. So she gave the students the go ahead, and they wrote a letter to facilities. The students explained that they created a system where kids sign up each week in the cafeteria to be compost monitors so no contaminants get in the compost. But when they found out that the compost was just ending up in the garbage, they were horrified. So facilities wrote back right away and said, let's get the BOCES truck over to Northeast so it can take the compost to Cubic Compost where it's supposed to go. And they did. So every day students continue to support composting at Northeast, and the older students take turns supporting the younger ones, acting as role models and leaders. They didn't stop there, though. When they heard that Northeast was the first school to start composting after a 4-year hiatus in the whole district, they spread the word and found out ways to tell other schools. Lastly, the Green Team also organized a school-wide event outdoors for every class to celebrate Earth Day this year. It was created by students for students and was a huge success, just ask any student at Northeast about Earth Day. And that is due to our principal's shared leadership with students and staff creating high levels of engagement, learning, and agency at Northeast, not to mention future leaders. Thank you.
Well, that's everyone who has signed up.
Yes.
Anyone in the room that wishes to speak? This is your opportunity.
You get the full 3 minutes.
If not, board responses. Chris, go right ahead.
First, thank you all for coming out on this beautiful evening. I know you could be any place else, but yet you chose to be here with us, and you could be doing yard work, playing with your kids, or who knows what. And also, thank you for your approach and sharing your experience. It warms my heart to hear everything you've shared, and it really makes me feel good. I also want to take a second to recognize, a lot of you mentioned what happened last week, Thursday, and I know that could not have been easy, just being at a distance, but when something like that happens and, it's so connected to you, it hits close to home. And how we get past that, not even past that, that's the wrong language, but that honestly shows who we are and how we are as a community. So I want to make sure we recognize that and that's not lost. as we move forward. And with everything else going on in the country and in the world, you know, coming together, showing signs like be kind and speaking kind is extremely important. And I thank you for that, and I appreciate all of you for that. And I also want to thank, I've got some takeaways here. And Kim, your son was not the only child who was in the principal's office a lot. I'm surprised most principals talk to me. But, you know, all of you, your candor and your genuineness and vulnerability is appreciated. So thank you.
Go ahead, Mark.
Great job, Chris.
Really?
I took notes.
I took a lot of notes. And I cannot believe, Emily, you've been teaching for 25 years. It's like, Emily was my student.
Right, it's not one of those.
A while ago. Obviously, more than 25, and she was.
She was my fourth grade teacher.
Whoa, boggles my mind. And anyway, so, you know, it was great to hear about so many wonderful things that are happening at Northeast. I took a lot of notes. I do have to say, you know, maybe because it's so sticking with me because it was last, but it's something I've thought about for a long time. I love what's happening with the green team. And I really hope that the composting effort can spread more widely throughout the entire district. So thank you, everybody. Gave me a lot of things to, you know, look for in our other schools and to suggest when I get the chance. And then I do want to say something about Rob Ainsley. So Rob Ainsley, as we've heard, has devoted tireless energy, thoughtfulness, caring, and enormous skill as a leader for this board. This is my 7th year on the board, and I have found it to be a personal growth experience, and I've learned a lot that I find really valuable. And the people who are here in the room with me tonight are all people who were here at least a couple of years before I was, and I think the way that we have worked together collaboratively is a lot due to the leadership that Rob has provided for us all these years, and I thank him and will miss him.
It is my pleasure.
One thing, I'll be very brief. I'm not going to jump on Rob because he's a stand-up guy who has not bailed on us, and he's here. But I owe Judy and Judy Max and two Judys. I'm sorry I did not get to hear your voice, but I thank you two for coming out. And I just need to speak to, you know, where information is shared. My biggest thing I put out there when people stop me and approach me and ask me questions, when are the adults in the room going to show up when you have these questions? Because after the fact is not enough. And so thank you for coming out and sharing what you shared. It's valuable. And I know a lot of folks are watching online or have more questions to this, but your perspective is valuable. That's all. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add my voice to my colleagues who have really appreciated all the comments that you've made and all of the details that you've shared about how wonderful Northeast is. I had the pleasure of visiting Northeast School a couple of weeks ago to walk through the hallways, to sit in on some reading classrooms, to meet teachers and see students. I got to see the museum walk. I noticed, as you said, a very strong sense of community and a profound sense of happiness and incredible dedication on the part of everyone in the building. And we have another elementary school principal here tonight. This is something, we've had 2 horribly rough years for our families, for our children, for our teachers, for our support staff. And And when I am just awed by how much dedication so many people have given to making their schools and this district and the educational experience for our children as good as it can be. And nobody got this right, nobody got this perfect, but I haven't seen a district or heard of a district that's done better, and I want to thank everyone in this room. And I want to thank Rob for, as everyone has said, incredible leadership and patience and a great example. And we will try to carry on, because that's what we do.
Any other comments?
I guess I just want to add,
There you go.
add thanks for the community for coming out and voicing your support, concerns. This is actually, believe it or not, the best part of this. Fabulously unpaid role. You actually get to hear teachers and parents and families in the community, and what I can tell you, our favorite is young people sit there, even if they're yelling at us, and saying things that might sound rough. Community, they're not rough. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Judy, the two Judys and Joyce, for stepping up at the table and indicating your dismay about the, as I call it, slanderous libel against Rob and myself. Let me be honest with you. I'm a kid from the South Bronx. You can tell me I drink kitten blood. You can't say as I don't care about kids. And I'm going to spare you the commentary that I wrote in response to this ridiculous information that was put out there about myself. But I can tell you, we need to get savvier as a community. ITA leadership released those screeds against Rob and I, not the teachers. I'm talking about a handful of people. The same group of people who wrote a memo in support of the Ithaca Police Department several months ago to their union, completely oblivious to the culture of the time, in the middle of not only a health pandemic, but a pandemic of racial reckoning. Blindly sent a message in support of the union that was in the midst of significant consternation with its own community about how it is managing its relationship with that community. So I am advising you, get more savvy. Our community is growing, coming out of this interesting phase where we seem to be a small town, engaging in small town politics. Now there's a PAC operating out of Albany, paying for messages that are libelous against longstanding, volunteer people who have sacrificed 15, 10, 12 years of Tuesday nights in support of these little people here. And you know what our reward is? Rubber chicken and lasagna twice a month.
I'd like to take a moment before we wrap up, because I am part of the Northeast community, and I am absolutely like, everything you said is just so powerful, and I really want to thank you for sharing. As everyone knows, I'm at the school every single day. I have 3 little ones there. Having a child with a disability, which I feel like I say all the time, but I've never had him in a more inclusive school in my life. And so it was nice to hear all the things you had to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. And I'm only just gonna say thank you for coming and sharing what is going on at Northeast. And I sit here knowing that you can bring in every single elementary school, and I'm going to hear very similar stories. And that I am very, that makes me very happy. It makes me very pleased. And it's not that your stories aren't unique, they are indeed, but we hear that from all our all our leadership across the district, because there is a great bunch of people came together to make sure that every child, regardless of where you live in this district, that when you step onto that bus and when you step onto that school, the school grounds, you are known, you're engaged, and it's going to be a great day. And so that I am very pleased that everyone came together to make sure that every child in this district has the great experience that Northeast has. Northeast historically has been a great elementary school. Now we know that not only do kids going to Northeast have great experience, but every child, South Hill, Caroline, Hugo Heights, Enfield, yes, my home school, and all the elementary schools, the kids have a great experience because of great staff, because of the great leadership at the building level, and yes, at the central office level, that kept everything going through 2+ years of a pandemic where really society was trying to tear apart public education. And so our job is to try to make sure it stays together. We cannot, Ithaca is not Ithaca without public education. If we want to have multiple private schools and have folks make choices that they do in other cities and other Ivy League schools and their college towns, but that's not Ithaca, that's not us. We have to make sure that every child is known and every child has that great experience that I had, my son had, my father had, right? So it's a special place, but we have an obligation to make sure that our kids come first, and that's all we ever really ever want to talk about, frankly. And yes, and that's the greatest meetings we have is when we have the young folks here. And then there's other meetings when we have a bunch of adults, and so we have to deal with that. So it's a fascinating dynamic, trying to make sure that in Ithaca, New York, we do what no one else does. We are unique. It's just the way it is, and we have to understand that. And those of us who grew up here, yeah, we get it. And that's why, yeah, a farm kid from Evansville that never, Dr. Brown and I we talk now, never really spoke in school. Teachers did not know I could talk, basically. And I made it through high school. I made it through Cornell without actually talking in a class because I didn't have to, because nobody made me do that. But eventually, yeah, I had to find my voice. And I was recruited, I was a football guy. I was recruited to play. As long as I could play football, sure. And I didn't cause trouble in class, I was good, right? So it is, Ithaca, obviously very important to me. I had the opportunities I had in my life because of opportunities that I had at Ithaca High School. So yeah, and I did go back to the farm and try to save, quote unquote, the family farm for 20 years. And 20 years later, after Cornell, and I needed to find a job. The reason I was able to find a job is I had a Cornell degree, I played ball. And from there, yeah, I needed something else to do once I stopped doing the farm thing. Because I had a lot of time on my hands, 24/7 for 20 years. Yeah, that's, and I was suggested to get involved with school board. And it's been the most rewarding work I've ever done. And I never got paid on the farm, so I don't get paid doing this. So yeah, I got this other job that I actually finally get some paid, but most rewarding work I've ever done. And it's been a great 15 years. And really a dynamic group that came together a decade ago to try to do what no one else could figure out. How can we get where we are now? And so I appreciate it, and we love the pictures. And but we're going to move on to student reps and stuff. This is probably, if you really don't want to get involved in the consent agenda and everything else, it might be a good time probably for little people to maybe go home. You don't have to stay. We're not done with our meeting. You can please stay if you wish.
We go to the business, the consent agenda. Yes, yes, thank you. Bye, Judy Max.
Thank you.
See you later.
What about him? Yeah. Yeah, it's just you had to. Oh, yeah. I thought you were off. Yeah.
Sorry, student rep.
Come on,
I want to know how you get dip into that bowl of candy right in front of me.
You want some?
No.
Anyone want?
I've actually got mints, but wearing a mask.
Oh my. Miss Talcott provided. I know.
All right, y'all, we gotta get going.
Okay.
So, student reps, and we have, now it's back to our typical meeting that everybody really finds very interesting, but we always find student reps interesting. And it's like,
First, I'd like to say, as a previous student at Northeast, it is very heartwarming and inspiring to see this huge turnout of love and support for a member of the Northeast community and amazing stories of the leadership and learning environment. We hope that the board and district can uphold their dedication to transparent communication. Continuing from last week, students are enjoying the warm weather and are looking forward to school coming to a close. Students will be studying for their final exams and the regents, which will be happening in June. Our amazing choir performed an exciting informal concert last week, leaving the audience in awe. These next 2 weeks will be filled with music, with the orchestra performing this Thursday, another choir concert next Friday, and the band concert on Wednesday the 8th, all at Culp Auditorium. We hope everyone can attend and listen to our talented students. As we all recognize, the school board election last week was a confusing experience for everyone, with signs saying only to vote for 3 candidates, confusion with polling places, and the eventual disqualification of one of the candidates. We appreciate Ms. Talcott for clarifying the facts for us. For sports, varsity track and tennis are participating in sectionals and states in the coming weeks. In terms of clubs, the Quiz Bowl A team is flying to Atlanta this weekend to compete in the national competition. The Technology Student Association, TSA, which I am a part of, did very well at their state's competition a couple weeks ago, placing first in numerous events, and is preparing for the national conference in Texas in June. We also encourage the district to continue to provide inclusion and support for BIPOC students in the tragic wake of the white supremacist shooting in Buffalo.
Yesterday in our weekly meetings with IHS Principal Mr. Trumbull, we not only had the privilege of meeting with Ms. Talcott, but also with Dan Bryman, the district administrator affiliated with facilities, to try and get allergen labeling in lunch lines. Students have come to us with concerns about the lack of allergen labeling in the lunch lines. Specifically, one student was lactose intolerant, and it's very difficult in the busy lunch line, like during 4th or 5th period, to ask a cafeteria worker if that food has dairy or has gluten or something like that. And we talked to Mr. Bryman, and we're in the process of getting allergen labeling in the cafeteria. And as students, we also students are working with the administration on the new schedule format for next year. And we also got some clarification about plans for lunch distribution next year with the implementation of a universal lunch, which included using the concession stand near Bliss Gym and food lockers as like food distribution sites. Also in our conversation with Mr. Griman, we discussed improvements to the IHS bathrooms, including new faucets and testing out new cleaning supplies. We are very thankful for all the time and attention paid to addressing student body concerns, so thank you.
Exactly last week, the Board of Education had their own election. Often students feel that local elections are far and distant and don't affect them. However, this year it didn't feel this way. I heard students talking about the election in the hallway. Our government teacher made researching the candidates a mandatory assignment, and seniors encouraged those eligible to vote and gave critical information on where to vote. In short, students at Ithaca High School were energized, enthusiastic, and informed about enacting their civic duty through the election and the decision regarding Proposition 4. However, a lot of upperclassmen students under 18 also talked about how they were sad they themselves couldn't vote. On these young activists' behalf, we were hoping the board could give us an update on the Legislative Advocacy Committee's attempt to allow 16-year-olds to vote in the board elections. However, some questions remain. Yesterday, we had a meeting with Ms. Talcott, which cleared a lot of our questions up, and we'd like to deeply thank her for that. However, just to ask the board directly, are there any plans to verify candidates' residency in the future, and how could this be achieved?
Thanks, Ithaca board responses.
I got a pretty direct one about the last piece. Erin Curl, who's with us virtually, is our fearless leader on the Legislative Advocacy Committee at the moment. She's entrusted me to try and make a meeting happen with two of your colleagues, who I think you both, three of you know. And we have tried to schedule that meeting with our Assemblywoman, Anna Kellis, twice, and it has not worked. So we are back to the drawing board trying to secure a date. I don't know if we've spoken this into the record before, but there is a New York Senate bill in place asking for the same thing. It's got language is tight. I think we understand the process we have to go through, but timing is the bane of everyone's existence in this in that venue. So your colleague Adam had asked if I could reach out to him so he could participate in the meeting when it does happen. And I do plan to reach out to him when we actually have a date.
To your question about verifying residency, I think that, I mean, we haven't discussed what we're going to do moving forward, but we did speak publicly with Kate, the school's lawyer. And I think my colleagues would agree when we will try to implement, or not try to, we'll implement a way where residency will be checked as soon as candidates turn in their petitions. I can't imagine why we wouldn't do that and just never have this problem again.
I just would say that in relation to that, the board does not run the election. The board clerk runs the election. Now, after the fact, we have some oversight responsibility. So exactly what is our role and how would we play it in looking at what we do with future elections? And it's something that needs to be discussed. You know, taking care that we do not step into a role that in fact would be a conflict of interest if board members are overly involved in the process of the election. So let's see, what else do we want to say? There have been some references to a need for transparency and information. And everybody needs to understand, if there is information that's being asked for regarding a employee, we cannot speak to it.
Cannot and will not.
Cannot and will not.
Well, just regarding residency, the requirements are clear. Those who wish to ask for the petitions to run for the board, the bullet points are clear on the requirements to serve. So it's really incumbent on the candidate who is gathering the signatures that they are indeed a valid candidate to be to serve on the board. And you know, the 30-day rule is for voting. You have to be residents of the district to vote. It's clear. It is state law. It is not us. You've got to be a resident for a year and a day before the budget vote and board referendum, and it's the annual meeting. But that date, it's got to be a year and a day. It's very clear.
And yes, and it's just, what is, I think, confusing though, is that there are the vast majority of school districts in New York State, it's a one-year residency. There are a few where it is as little as 30 days. Ithaca is not one of them. There are some where it's as many as 3 years. Ithaca's not one of them either. So, but the information that is offered to candidates who ask for petitions, and it's on the website, it's very clear that it's one-year residency.
So anyway, so there's some personal responsibility, and there's responsibility to, if you're running for the board and you're elected to the board, there is responsibility to show up for meetings. I mean, if you do not, if you run for the board, you get on the board, and you don't show up for a while, frankly, you can be removed. I mean, that's the process as well. And quite frankly, back in the old days, if those who are interested in running for the board, we would see them at board meetings, because this is where you get an idea of, well, how long do these meetings run? And we would see folks at work sessions. How many meetings are there a month? How many hours does it take? And again, I'm free to say whatever I want now, basically. But it is very telling if a new school board member and the first meeting they go to is the reorg meeting in July. If that is the first Ithaca City School Board meeting that they ever attend, is the reorg meeting where they take their oath of office. That's problematic for them. It's going to be very hard for them, regardless of who it is, to get an idea of the flow. How does this work? How do you work together? How do I came to school board meetings because I was on the athletic boosters, and we were trying to get superintendent at the time to consider some athletic improvements along with the fine and performing arts. You can see the dynamic. You can see how that board worked. And I saw things I didn't like. I didn't see a board working together. They would, a group would go off. The meeting would be going on, and they would go and leave and come back. Or they would take a break and split up and come back. And it's like, what are you guys doing? I mean, what we do, we talk about it in public. And I need, as a board member, I need to hear Pat, Moira, Albert, Chris, everybody. I need to hear from them. And if we're in a gang of 4, that's not how you run a district. And so I'm just saying. So you want to know how to be on a board? Well, you do it by being pretty inclusive and listening to everyone and trying not to shut people out or whatever. But at least if you want to be on the board, you ought to show some interest in what goes on. You guys sit here. You have a pretty good idea what's going on. But there's new board members coming on that they've never been in this room. And so I'm concerned as a private citizen now, I am concerned. And I think, frankly, rightly so. But we've seen this pattern for a few years now. And just, hey, I think I'll be on the school board. Wow, that's great, appreciate it. But anyway, so I guess that's my board response.
And I would like to add one more thing for the student reps listening, just so you realize, and I think we've mentioned this before, all meetings are available to be watched online. And they have been for many years, correct? YouTube videos. So the public, I know a lot of public members who are watching, and I just want to speak for them because this feels a little weird. But you can watch, you don't have to be at a meeting, you can watch them online.
Sure.
Only thing I'll add to what everyone else has said for your benefit is I would like the people in this community to consider this. As I said in my earlier comments, the teachers union, the leadership of the teachers union has taken it upon themselves to endorse people over the last several years. I can think going back to 2015 from my perspective. To the people who they put forward full support on these cards that you saw going around, quit on this board after less than 8 months in both cases, leaving 5 or 6 of us to do 9 people's work on your behalf. This time, someone they endorsed, in the card that was presented earlier, didn't meet the residency requirement. I'm astounded that people were asking the Board of Education, what are we going to do to ensure residency? What are we going to do to ensure that these people who are coming to sit at this table to represent you are actually going to stick with it? I think you all as student leaders should consider directing your energy in a different location. At least similarly in that direction as you are directing it to us.
So we really, great to go ahead and get finished up here. And thanks everyone. And consideration of counts and Chris, you want to move that?
I'll move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
By Pat. There is the internal audit report. Audit committee went through it and it's being presented. There's some corrections and it's pretty pro forma. I guess that's Latin, Dr. Brown. But it is, we do have to vote on that. And Chris, then there's kind of a long list of things.
There's a list of things. We are disposing of surplus library books. No, we are not burning books. They will be donated. Once again, IPEI donation of I'll call it $45,000 and round it up. And then, as Ross spoke to, other pro forma things that this time of year we need to get things done.
So we good? Anything else? All right, it's a move seconded. Tricia, I guess, go ahead and call the roll for the record.
Rob Ainsley,
Yes.
Erin Cora,
Yes.
Eldred Harris.
Yes.
Moira Lang. Yes. Chris Malcolm,
Yes.
Patricia Wasley.
Yes.
Okay, yep, that was personal report, that was everything. And Dr. Brown, there you go.
Thank you for the opportunity to say. Yeah, I will be very brief. It's an amazing day when you hear from young people and community members like we heard tonight. Thank you and shout out to all the folks from the Northeast community. It's also awesome when you get to see legends, living legends like Judy Maxwell and George Putnam in a space that they have been for so long. But it's also a horrible day when there's such a horrific loss of life in any school, anywhere that we're experiencing right now. But my remarks are only to say that, yeah, we will be sharing resources like we do after tragedies, oftentimes that are happening too often. We'll be sharing letters and resources with our school community this evening and tomorrow to help us move forward as a community. But yeah, let's not continue to have these conversations hopefully. And when they do happen, we rally as a community and center our young people because they need to be centered now more than ever. Thank you for the opportunity to say that. I know we have a few other items we need to get to this evening.
Thanks, Dr. Brown, and wanted to, the school district business summer professional learning, just wanted to touch base on that.
Yeah, we'll be very brief with some of our summer plans, and Ms. Talcott and Ms. Goldberg are gonna share some highlights and some thoughts.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Hi. Good to see everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Mary and I are
thrilled to share some of the fabulous offerings that we have this summer. And I want to send just a huge shout out to the ICSD educators who have collaborated in order to make all of this happen. Teachers, ESPs, administrators, folks that we're partnering with have been coming together over the past several months in order to design a really robust series of offerings for the summer. Tricia, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. So everything that we're doing, everything in our school district is through this lens of Learning Forward ICSD. And summer professional learning is no different. You've seen this slide before. We've shared it many times with you. Learning Forward ICSD is the framework through which we are doing everything moving forward as we are continuing to live in multiple pandemics, right? Students as leaders and partners, ongoing educator identity work, anti-racist curriculum for all, and structures of support. And transitioning into our summer work, Tricia, if you wouldn't mind. There are some big key themes that you're gonna see this summer. And you're gonna see Team ICSD is leading a lot. So we've got a lot of teacher leaders who are gonna be leading professional development in those 4 buckets, centering Dr. Goldie Muhammad's 5 pursuits of identity, skills, intellect, criticality, and joy, my favorite one. And so we'll see teachers, ESPs, administrators leading these sessions. We also are continuing our work with the Equity Consulting Group, especially around curriculum writing, really facilitating and guiding that process throughout. And then Mary's going to talk about, I think really the cornerstone of this summer and all of the work that she's been doing around planning for and implementing the Diversity and Inclusivity Summit.
So we're gonna start with first making sure that you mark your calendars for July 18th and 19th, that we invite you to Board of Education to join us, along with members of the Equity and Inclusion Leadership Council, who have really supported us and inviting and attracting some of the country's most premier speakers on educator identity. So Dr. Yolanda Seeley Ruiz, she is an advocate of centering student voice, as well as doing that through exploring yourself and the archaeology of self. So she will be our keynote speaker for day 1. And then the second day, we will see Dr. Shiraki Holly again. And he will be really focusing on instructional strategies. So we have the identity work and then the instructional strategies, which are the foundation for the professional development. I also want to add that Lily and I both get the privilege of students approaching us and giving feedback on their experiences in the classroom. I want to thank the board reps for coming and sharing your input, and also for the students who have emailed me in the past month. There you will see in our professional development offerings this summer a reflection of what they are saying is needed. And that input is invaluable to the planning of the breakout sessions that will follow these 2 keynote speakers. And we wouldn't have this without our superintendent, Dr. Brown. So I also want to take a moment and thank you for bringing this opportunity that we get to host this for the country, and New York State is a real honor. Thank you.
If you want to know more about our professional development opportunities, it's just right there. So if you hover over staff on our website, you'll see professional development is one of the links. You click there and you'll see a whole call out box for summer professional development. You can click on that and you can read all of the descriptions. We talk about each one of them and how they are connected to what of the 5 pursuits they connect to. They're all paid for educators because we know that's really important, and we're really grateful for all the input that we've had and for folks signing up to engage in this important work for our young people. And I would say also for ourselves, it definitely, I think, is allowing, especially with the identity work, I think allowing us to do a lot of important self-reflection and understanding and unpacking our own racism, sexism, transphobia in a way that's not comfortable, but definitely safe, right? And allowing us to grow and really learn. So
Just clarity on the Summer Institute, right? I mean, that's obviously, well, not obviously, our personnel staff can go, but we're pulling people in from all over.
Yes, sir. We expect a national order. Primarily, a lot of New York State folks are going to be here for sure, but we'll have folks from all over the place.
Right, so it's not just the district, it's, yeah. I guess it's kind of a big deal, is that what I'm hearing?
It's kind of a big deal.
And it was similar program that last year.
We did it 3 years ago now.
Right, right, this goes back, so it was pre-pandemic, okay.
Yeah, it's part of the New York State Council of School Superintendents, or NISCUS. It's part of the council's commission on diversity and inclusivity that's led by Dr. Brown and Dr. Oliver Robinson.
Right. So, well, it's great that it's starting up again. It's great it's going to be in Ithaca, because where else would you rather be than in Ithaca in July?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
So that's great, and I appreciate it. Anything else, Dr. Brown, on this? There is another item here about the board reorg meeting date setting. I don't know that we have to do it tonight, but we have to do it sometime.
I would move, we could table it and then.
Right, I think you need to collect more voices at the table.
Yeah, exactly.
And just let me know when it is, so I can make sure I'm on the vote and anywhere near. Okay. It'll be on the vote, definitely on the vote.
So we have to vote to table,
Do we have to table?
Yes.
Can someone remind me again what the parameters are of the? We have to do it the first week in July, the first full week in July?
With July 8th being the last day.
July 8th being the last day, so 4th of July is a Monday.
So you just try to bracket it however, well, you all figure it out.
Yeah, well, I'll figure it out. I'll say right now, I'm here on the 1st and the 8th, and that's it. 1st and the 8th, and that's it. Okay. Friday.
There's always defining parameters that as we all try to do this, and that's right.
Right.
Upcoming dates of importance, somehow an audit meeting popped up on my calendar just.
Yeah.
Hello?
Tomorrow
This
at
afternoon.
5:30.
Yeah.
Audit?
I also popped up on my calendar, and
Is it for
Angela-
real?
It is for real, it is for real. If it needs to be rescheduled, it is within Soro. It's the
Right, it's
logistics
the
of the
normal.
summer audit. Let me
Why
know.
couldn't it be on a rainy day? I mean, it is, if you're Rob, if you're good,
It is,
I'm good.
it is virtual.
Can we do that on the boat?
It's virtual, right?
Yes, it is.
Right, it's a Zoom meeting. Which
That's a Zoom
means you have to
meeting.
be inside at
Right.
in my office. I guess, well, all right. I was gonna try to blow some of this stuff off, but, all right, so Chris, can you do tomorrow? All right, let's get it done.
I'll be in Mr. Trumbull's award ceremony tomorrow.
What time is that?
It's in the Oswego tomorrow.
So we go.
Oh.
Owego or Oswego?
You gotta talk to a Virginia now, I don't know.
There's a huge difference. And hundreds of miles.
Yeah, no, you never go down.
You will verify the location of it. And congratulations to Mr. Trumbull. Couldn't happen to a better better leader. Since again, I'll say something since I don't have to worry about anything. everyone knows that year after year, it was really tough to find a principal for Ithaca High School. Turnover it just was a nut that was very hard to crack. And it was question came up in our discussions, well, okay, is Ithaca High just really ungovernable? Is it really, is it too big a job? And basically it came down to, is the job too big, or, well, frankly, the folks that we're choosing just aren't up to it, aren't big enough, frankly. Job was big, but they just really couldn't handle it. And but Jason Trumbull stepped up, and he was the right man, and is the right man for the job, and has just done an outstanding job at Ithaca High School, and we greatly appreciate his service to this district and the kids. So having a constant, solid presence at Ithaca High School is good. So I appreciate that. So thank you to Jason.
And I always like to quote the factoid that I taught at Ithaca High School for 25 years and I had 13 principals in 25 years. I don't even know how it's possible, but
Well,
that's the fact.
That's the way it was. And so we appreciate Jason Trumbull. We appreciate everyone's great work. As we finish up this year, we have another month. And Judy says it's okay for me to be home on Tuesdays. I thought that's why she wanted me to run again. She was pretty insistent that you should not be home on Tuesdays. So I will find something else to do on Tuesdays. But and I guess it's okay if I go home now. Bob, it's it's after 9 o'clock. It's okay if I go home.
Street lights are on.
Yeah. So I think we're good, Dr. Brown. Nothing else. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Right.